To be honest, I did not have any clarity. What I had was a
Even
lot of desperation. I
okay,
was so desperate to not be a failure.
we don't tend to accept it
Oh,
because
yeah.
as a woman we feel we should do everything perfect, and that's actually we are taxing ourselves, and we shouldn't do that.
You're
Go
so
ahead.
right. The pursuit of perfection is such a waste of energy. So if I know that I have the exam and 3 months later I'm gonna get my results, I know that I need to work really hard because I have to clear this exam so that I can get on to the next level. It's already part and parcel of my plan.
It teaches kids on where to invest, how to take, what are independent decisions, and what it is new avenues. It is okay to lose, it is okay to make money, rather than giving formulas on simple interest and compound interest for loans. Kavita, thank you for coming on to our podcast, You, Me, Finance at Pickright. It's amazing to see a woman achieving so much in the finance world, at least in your youngest CMT, CFA, and an entrepreneur, and you're a founder. So it feels great. And thank you so much for coming on to this podcast, and that too in March. It's amazing to have you here.
Thank you so much, Archana, for having me on your podcast. When your team reached out to me and I learned I was going to be on the Pickright podcast, I was very happy. It was my week's highlight. Thank you for having
Thank
me.
you. Yeah, thank you so much. Pleasure is all ours. And definitely, it gives me immense pleasure, right, to see someone who is actually has done so much uh, in such a shorter time. And believe me, finance is being such a dry world, and I am not really. Did not start my career from finance, but now we are running a finance company for the last 5 years, and I know the challenges in finance. So, do you want to expand more about how did you embark on this journey, and what made you to even get into this? And above all, for all the viewers, I have to tell you, Kavita, very thankful she's in US and she's actually doing this podcast in an ungodly hour. It is midnight for her. So thank you so much again for agreeing and being here. And well, I can't wait to know how did you even start this journey and how did you end up where you are?
Absolutely. So it all started in high school for me. And actually, it all started way before. So my father he used to be a bullion trader when I was growing up. So because he used to trade gold on the commodity market on MCX, every day when he came back from office, he had one task for us. On the CNBC channel, whenever in the ticker tape the prices of gold comes, run up to me and tell me what the prices has been. So whoever tells me first gets a reward. So my siblings got bored of the game pretty fast, but it continued to fascinate me. So, when I was like I was a toddler, I had just learned how to read numbers and just maybe started pronouncing thousands, and I was already doing this for him. So
Wow.
CNBC just became something very normal that I used to watch, more than Cartoon
It
Network
was like
sometimes.
your cartoons.
Yeah.
It was your
It was very entertaining for me. There were like so many lines, so many things were moving, people were coming and going and talking, and like everybody looked really pretty. So it was very fun for me to watch. And then as I grew up, I started taking interest, and my father told me always that technical analysis is a really good field. Back then I didn't understand what it meant because nobody around me spoke about technical analysis. And then in high school he gave me a book on candlestick patterns by Steve Nissan, and that was where it all began. That was the first time that I had grasped formal knowledge about about the field, and it really really piqued my interest. So I like to say it was love at first sight, but to be honest, that love and that passion kind of got cultivated, all through my life. And I only started calling it my passion, I guess 5 years back, because I've been
okay.
doing this since the past 12 years, right? So for the first 5 6 years I didn't think anything about it. I was just doing it on the side. It was moonlighting after my job. It was how I refreshed myself, just came back.
What was your job? What were you doing
So
during this time?
after high school, I wanted to pursue economic honors, and I tried so hard to get into St. Xavier's College economics, economics batch. I couldn't. My marks were not enough. So I got into BCom, right? And that was actually a big blessing for me because
That's what it helps. you
it
to?
helped me so much because at St. Xavier's, the batch for girls to attend BCom is evening batch. So we used to go to
Mhm.
college at 4 and come back at 8. Now, because I had the entire day to myself, it meant I could do whatever with my
You can fit
time.
in your trading hours.
Exactly.
Perfect
So,
fit with
I mean, I
trading
wasn't
hours.
trading back then, but I knew I wanted to make a career in technicals. My interest had been piqued. I'd been researching about it a lot. And it was very clear that in India, there is not much to pursue. There are things in the US, there are designations in the US that can be pursued, but I wasn't sure because I still needed someone to, someone who knew what it was and to just tell me that it was really good. So, it was very lucky that I got into BCom honors in Xavier's because then I was able to attend this career oriented program, which was like a certificate program. Like all colleges have that 6-month program where you get a
Yes,
certificate.
yes.
You don't get a job on the basis of it, but you get a certificate. So there I learned the basics of the stock market. And I also met mentors. Like I met
Mm.
teachers who went on to become my mentors. And then I discussed with them. They were able to tell me that yes, lot of scope in technicals. There's a lot of scope in CMT. Uh, they were like the possibilities are endless. You should just go for it if you feel for it. And then they also gave me an internship opportunity in their
Okay.
office. So I was interning with them. I was learning the practical aspects, and I was pursuing my CMT. So, oh my God, Archana, my college days were so hectic. I was going to work, I was going to college, and then I was preparing for a professional designation all at the same time.
Wow.
So my days were just, they
Must
were
be
a
so
blur.
grueling.
It
Yeah.
was grueling and it was good because I didn't have time for distractions. I didn't have time to waste.
Mm.
Usually in college, I think that's the biggest mistake that people end up making, right? They end up doing things that don't matter. Now, because I was so overcommitted, and I also held some posts in my college, some leadership posts. So I was up to my nose, but it was great because I learned a lot about time management from that.
A really good point, right? Like when you said for the college students, especially. So I just want to make that point. Like you said, people do waste time in college. So you had the clarity that you want to do this. But if you have to give any advice to the younger kids who are in college right now, how do they get clarity? How do they even choose? Like, not everyone can have the clarity or decide. How do they do that?
To be honest, I did not have any clarity. What I had
Is
was a
it?
lot of desperation. I
Okay.
was so desperate to not be a failure.
The
At
fear
that
of
point of
failure is
time,
what drive
oh
drove
yeah,
you.
for sure. Because, what I was trying to do was so different from anything anyone around me was doing. If I talk about my peers, in India, or at least where I grew up in Calcutta, it's very typical for every commerce student to go for chartered accountancy. So everybody around me was going for CA, was going for CS, or was preparing for an MBA. And here I was preparing for CMT, doing an internship, performing tasks that nobody understood anything about. If I talked to them about charts, they didn't understand what I was saying, and nobody was interested in, getting
Yeah,
into
yeah.
details. So I was so scared of failing that I was just grasping onto whatever came my way. And in that
Hmm.
desperation, I was actively, without realizing, I was actively seeking opportunities
Hmm.
nonstop. And whenever I got a glimmer of hope, a glimmer of familiarity, I was chasing it down. I was making calls and I was like, because I just didn't want to fail. And I think that's what really made all the difference. And
Yeah.
I, there's one more thing about me that I don't like being comfortable. I read somewhere when I was very young that if you're comfortable, you're not growing. So, you have to kind of always stay in that zone where you're a little bit scared, but you're also a little bit bold to go after
Hmm.
things, right? And I wasn't as confident as I am today when I was in college. I was a very shy, very introvert kind of a person. So it was after graduation that I actually started working on personal development a lot. And there's a specific book that gave me some specific direction. I used to care too much about everything. So there's this book by Mark Manson. It's called The Subtle Art. That kind of really elevated my a little bit of my self-esteem, a little bit of the way I viewed myself, and it made me realize that I was spending way too much of my emotional resources on things that don't really matter. Just saying yes to things which demand a lot of time because I don't want to offend people that don't really care about me was draining me. And that is
Okay.
something that I really stopped doing after reading that book. It caused a big shift. So I'm sure there are a lot of young folks who are in college today who have so much potential, who have ideas, who may not recognize their passions just yet because, passion, anything that you like or enjoy doing, it takes certain hours of commitment before you can really call it a passion. You have to reach a certain level of
And
being
you
good
don't
at
even
it.
know whether it's your passion or not
You
unless you have to
cannot,
find those
yeah,
hours.
exactly. A lot of people think that you'll find your passion and you'll pursue it. No, you pursue something and it becomes your passion because
The passion.
you become good at it and you start enjoying it,
Yeah.
you
And still
know?
I did not find my passion. I still work hard.
You just gotta keep doing whatever feels good to
Yeah.
you, it can be anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anything. I completely agree. And I think it's a very important point. Fear of failure, the desperation, right? And seeking onto opportunities, whatever coming your way, picking it up and doing, and not really thinking too much about it, and not investing the emotional resources where it is not needed. I
Yes.
think those are the main hooks or the success of things which are really important for anyone's personal and professional growth.
Oh, you
Uh,
summarized it beautifully.
yeah, I think that's amazing. Yeah. So, do you want to speak about your CFA? You spoke about how you fell in love with charts and then probably CFA journey and the start and the founder of your company, where you are and what you're doing.
Yeah, for sure. So, in college, like as soon as I did my certificate program and I got some clarity, some direction from my teachers turned mentors that CMT is a good way to go, I enrolled into the CMT. So I became a CMT level 3 clear candidate before I did my graduation, right? Which was something amazing for me. And back then it was very advantageous because CMT was giving scholarship to full-time students. I was able to, do it for like super cheap as well. And cost really matters because if you're pursuing something from the US as a college student, it can be really, really expensive, right? So then after I graduated, I worked as a full-time technical analyst in a trading firm. And from there, it was a very natural decision to pursue CFA because in the CMT brochure itself, they write that, CFA is what is going to help you get the job. CMT is what will help you keep the job. So I was like, okay, then CFA is like the next thing that I
Logical.
should do.
Yeah.
And CFA also had a bit of a reputation as, a good way to go, good career prospects, good job opportunities. And back then, honestly, I was very set. So I've always been a planner and I always have been planning, as back as I can go in my head. I've always planned like at least 5 years ahead into the future, right? And I picked up this idea actually from the Constitution. You remember in India, there used to be the 5-year plans. So I really like the concept. So I
Yeah.
started doing that for myself. So in high school itself, I decided that, okay, I'm going to pursue CMT, I'm going to do CFA, and then I'm going to be in corporate for 5 years because I want to learn the ropes of how to work and how to make money, how to money, how to manage a team, how to, just learn these systems, softwares, whatever. I just wanted to learn, right? Uh, so I was always said that I'm going to work for 5 years under other people and then I'm going to most likely start something of my own. Now, having these plans was one thing, but their execution was honestly, it was pure luck. I was
Yeah.
just,
I was about to say that 5-year plan,
it's
banana
just,
is an answer.
it's not, it's honestly not that difficult also, Archana. When you sit to do it, it takes maybe 30 minutes. It's just all about making a conscious decision about which path you want to go. When you think about one path, then you also think about the next best possibility, then you think the next best possibility. And that's it. And I mean, at the end of the day, there are only so many things that can happen in your life,
And
right?
so many things only you can only do few things, right? At the end of
Yeah,
the day, human doesn't have unlimited capacity and capability,
exactly,
and
exactly.
that is where and you have, but we don't tend to accept it
Oh,
because
yeah.
as a woman we feel we should do everything perfect, and that's actually we are taxing ourselves, and we shouldn't do that. So
You're
go
so
ahead.
right. The pursuit of perfection is such a waste of energy.
Exactly. And I really don't think it is needed. And whomever I meet, I say it is okay to do one thing well. That is good. And that is what I have actually learned with my male colleagues. The more I work out, the more I see my husband, I learned it's okay to do one thing. No one is demanding us to do many things perfectly. It is us who are burdening ourselves. And I don't think anyone should be even expecting that.
It's too much pressure.
Right, right.
Pursuing perfection is too much pressure. It's not needed. I love the 80-20 rule, and
Go ahead, expand on that.
oh, so the 80-20 rule is very cool. What it and it has a lot of basis in practicality. So what it says is that 80% of the results come out from 20% of the work. And the last 20% of the result come out from the 80% of the work. So the 80% that I'm talking about, the 80% effort that actually goes towards perfection. When you're trying to refine something, you're trying to proofread it 10 times because you don't want a single comma to go wrong. You want all your T's crossed
You
and
want
I's
to always
dotted.
chat GPT.
Thank God for Chat GPT. Honestly, when I tell you that I'm very lucky, I was able to do everything. Chat GPT plays such a good role. I was like, oh my God, AI came into my life, right? At a very, very good time. I don't think I could have been an entrepreneur without AI.
Sometimes I feel that I correct what ChatGPT puts also, and then I say there is no point if I take help of ChatGPT. I shouldn't rewrite it again.
Exactly, exactly. So the pursuit of perfection is something that we really need to let go if we want to grow. It's way better to do just get something done and then reassess, understand what you could have done better, and then redo it later when you have to do it again instead of spending more than necessary time. And also, coming back to the 5-year plan, just having a vague idea about what direction I want my life to take. What happens is that when the opportunity comes, see, you can only identify an opportunity in hindsight, right? When it presents itself to you in the form of a seminar, in the form of a conversation, it doesn't really, come with a
Yeah,
notice that I'm an opportunity, take me, right? So when you know the general direction that you want to take in your life, when such things present themselves to you, you will naturally gravitate towards it. So for instance, back in college where I found one of my mentors, he actually came to deliver a seminar, and the seminar was at a very odd time. It was very inconvenient for me and none of my friends were going, but because the advertisement of the seminar just had a few words which were very relevant to me, I made it a point to attend that alone, at a very odd hour. I had to travel, go out of the way. I had to do it, and out of my entire batch, so there were 400 people who attended that seminar. Sorry, it was an in-person seminar. And during the seminar, the person who was delivering it asks, who out here knows about technical analysis? And in an audience of 400 people, only 2 people raised hands, and I was one of them, right? So that was such a monumental moment in hindsight because I was able to build a connection with somebody who knew so much about the field that I wanted to pursue. And I knew I wanted to pursue this because I had taken 30 minutes of my time, maybe like a couple years back, to determine what I wanted to do or what I wanted my life to look like in the next 5 years. A lot of people think that sitting and making plans can take a lot of time. You have to know a lot of things. No, just create an outline. And as you live your life, you'll be filling in the details, you'll be filling in the colors, and that's completely okay.
yeah. It's a well said point. Understand where do you want to go and start creating a sketch out of it. Later on, it gets filled with whatever details you want to.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so for example, when I was pursuing my CMT and my CFA, so the 5-year plans were more like, all right, so in say this December of 2013, I'm gonna give this exam, and then in the 2014 November, I'm gonna give this exam. So this is the time when I'm gonna be preparing. So this is the time when I'm gonna take a leave. So because I had all of these things planned, in my head, I was constantly already preparing for what was to come next. So if I know that I have the exam and 3 months later I'm going to get my results, I know that I need to work really hard because I have to clear this exam so that I can get on to the next level. It's already part and parcel of my plan. Now if I know that I have my exams, then it means that I need to start negotiating for my leaves with my employers already. A lot of people start doing that at the very last moment, and then they end up with like
Yeah.
just 2-3 weeks of leaves, and then they'll complain about it. So I used to start negotiating with my employers in a very soft tone, way in advance, just kind of start slipping it to them in conversations. And I wasn't even doing this consciously, it was just happening because I already had it planned. So
Because you already have to execute it, and you know that you have to go and
exactly,
give an exam.
yeah, exactly, just having that outline was just amazing. So there was this office. So after I graduated, I worked at a chartered accountancy firm as a corporate finance associate, and that firm had a really bad reputation for never giving leaves, like enough leaves to its articles who were working as intern chartered accountants basically. And then I walk in and I'm pursuing CFA, which is not even as difficult as CFA, like as the CA. But, because I was able to negotiate, I got a way longer leave than those poor chaps.
Yeah.
I,
So some of actually three important points, right? One, always outline your plan, what you have to do. Second, consciously, subconscious, make it a subconscious decision that you have to do that plan, whatever it may be. Third, execute it flawlessly because you already have the one and two done. So I think these three steps are very important, but not just anything, right? But throughout your entire career, personal level also, it's very important that outline it, consciously make it your second skin, make it a subconscious action.
yeah.
And third, then execution automatically comes in because when subconsciously you know you're going to do it, and that's where I think everything falls.
I will add one more thing to it. Don't be afraid to ask.
Mm.
A lot of people are just so afraid to have a conversation, to ask, to put their viewpoint. What I have seen in many, many years, in the last 10, 15 years, I would say, is that whenever I have gone and asked, more often than not, I've gotten a yes. You know, I remember back when I was in school also, so I was always very active. I was always very participative. I was never afraid of walking into the principal's office and asking for permission to do something which was never done before. And I never got a no from anybody. They always said, "Oh, that's a really good initiative. Go ahead, do it. We'll see." The worst thing that'll happen is you'll waste some money. It's fine. We'll do it. And a school principal saying that it's okay if you waste a little bit of money is a big deal because they're all like on a tight budget. Yeah. So never be afraid to ask. It's always all right.
Yeah, yeah. Even if you get the worst thing, what can happen is a no.
Exactly.
Always it's
That's the
not.
worst
It's
that
a
can
binary.
happen.
It's a binary question, right? No one. You go and ask if they say no. Well, that's
Yeah.
perfect.
I mean, don't take
I,
it
I,
personally. It's fine. Just
yeah,
that's another thing. I think, especially women have a tendency of taking things very, very personally a lot of times, right? And that actually comes from a lack of exposure a little bit. Because we've always stayed at home. So we've always been very protected, in a very cultured, in a very, you know, it's been really nice. But when you go out into the real world, you're going to get some setbacks. We have to learn to be okay with it.
yeah. And the more setbacks you get early in your life, the more
Oh,
stronger you become.
for sure.
Yeah.
Nothing
So
like a personal setback to develop your character.
exactly, and I think that's where your grit and determination comes out with, and that's very important. So I just want to touch upon the woman thing, right? Like I want to understand you being in the career. Have you come across or worked with any women who want to get into their financial planning? Did you have women customers or did you deal with them? And what is that now? How do you see the changing landscape in India, where women becoming see earlier also women were part of financial planning, but it was more of they were actually managing, saving, not really investing. So I see women where I come from a family where my mother was a working person. So my mom was first generation employee. So I know that I have seen my mom saving, but never actively investing or growing money or investing. We need to buy real estate. We need to invest in gold. I was never that. All we need to do was we need to save, get the kids educated, give them some secure future, so they go and do that. So women were playing a very important role in India too. So I generally don't agree if anyone says men was the main financial planner. Women actually drove everything in India too. So, but now, what is your take on the shifting landscape in India? Do you think it is shifting? And your viewpoints and anything on that would be appreciated.
For sure, Archana. I recently answered an interview for Economic Times on the same topic.
Okay,
So,
great.
yeah, and it's very interesting. So, the landscape in India is shifting significantly when it comes to the participation of women as investors. First of all, the data itself suggests that this growth is phenomenal, even though we have a lot of headspace to grow even now. And when we talk about women as investors, there are few things or few characteristics which really stand out versus men as investors, right? So the first thing is the confidence right now, because and also because of, I think, socioeconomic factors, women are really scared of making mistakes, and you cannot become a good investor without making mistakes and then learning from those mistakes. So
It's okay to make a mistake. I
it
think
is exactly, and you
that's
know,
the
not just in investing, also in
it's
life.
so in life. Exactly. That's what I always tell to every other woman whom I met, it's okay. You should forgive yourself. It's okay to make mistakes, and it's
Yeah,
absolutely okay.
it's, I
It's
mean,
absolutely to screw it up anything. You can always bounce back from there.
that is so true. And I wish more people realized this and accepted this as a life mantra, that it's way better to do something badly than not do it at all. You know,
Exactly.
um, you might do it badly the first time, the third time, the 10th time, but you're going to get better at it if you really do it with your heart and soul, right? If you put a little bit of intelligence into it, you're going to get better. So women in India are very risk averse. They don't want to make mistake. They don't want to take capital, invest it, and they're really afraid of losses. So that is number one, the biggest factor in impeding their growth. Then the second thing that again stops women is the ability to take independent decisions. Now, because they're so afraid of the risk part, they don't want to make independent decisions. So they'll first go ask their husbands. So a lot of times, women who are my customers, also my clients, they'll come, they'll have the conversation, they'll understand the product, and they're telling me, and they know it themselves that what I'm offering is helpful to them. But then they'll go explain that same stuff to their husband and do what their husbands tell them. Rather than going with their judgment, they will rely on what their husbands are
Husbands never tell
suggesting.
wives where they are investing, though. But wives do tell. How do you, how do you, how do you think this will this change in near future? What do you think?
uh,
I'm aware of this too because I'm in finance field. I know I completely I concur with you, and I absolutely you're talking what I want to say. How you being in the field, dealing with so many people, do you think there will be a shift in this, and what will it take for the shift to come?
Um, it is going to be a very difficult shift, I have to be honest, because see, like I said, I spend a lot of time in the US as well, and I see a lot of Indian women who've made it to the US who are working here full time, but still a lot of them are not very good at managing their money. They still depend on their husbands to do that. But then there is also a lot of women out here who are super independent, who will take care of their own investment, their own money. They know where the taxes are going. They're not afraid of venturing into new avenues or reaching out to specific professionals on their own, and on the basis of consultation make decisions for themselves, without taking permission from their husbands. So that independence is
I
definitely
don't
there.
call it as permission, Sukar. I think it is an assertion. Women needs an assertive, like you're doing right. It's okay. So I think
Exact,
nowadays
you're actually
women,
correct.
yeah, it's not permissions. If somebody is earning 200K, 150K, or even they are earning well in India, they just go and tell. See, if somebody is going and buying a Chanel or some bag, right? They don't need husband's permission because they know that their friends have told this is the new collection of the bag, so I can just go and buy. Or I want to go to a vacation, right? A Bali or somewhere Maldives. I don't need a permission. I still go with my girlfriend. But when it comes to money, and I think the awareness of how the nitty gritties of how the money works or something, probably that is not wired. I honestly feel that two, three people telling it is okay, you're doing okay. If the husband says yes, whatever your decision is right,
The
it is okay to
validation.
go. The
Yeah.
validation, yeah, the assertion and validation. So but that is very important for women, and that's actually imbibed in the psychology of women. So we need somebody to say, yes, you're looking beautiful. Yes, your handbag is very nice. And yes, your investment decision is perfect. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Instead of
sorry, go ahead.
seeking that validation, if individuals just started focusing more on their own experience of execution and assessment and then improvement, would be a lot better,
Yeah,
for personal growth and development.
yeah, yeah. I just want to add one point here. You really brought up the whole psychology and the mindset. Probably what might help is if the education what we have got in till our higher school, right, plus two, actually talks about investment and teaches kids on where to invest, how to take, what are independent decisions, and what it is new avenues. It is okay to lose, it is okay to make money, rather than giving formulas on simple interest and compound interest for loans. Taking loan is something we were taught right from our sixth class, right? There is no way where we are taught or how much we have to invest and how much returns we get. So I think probably that education, if it was given at the right age, then the woman seeking validation, that might come a little less. Women will be more confident that it is okay, let me go and put it in. The more people come, like you are inspiring. So 10 other people will be looking at you and saying, oh, why can't I do this? And they will be starting to work on that. So, and I think that is the chain which has to happen. And that will be the biggest shift in women taking a decision in financial landscape and doing it on their own. So I'm waiting for that day to come.
You're really right. I mean, schooling does play a big role, but then
Yeah.
if you think about it, men also receive the same schooling, but then they do end up becoming better investors and
Yeah,
bigger
because
investors.
DNAs are different, men and women. So we can't, they both are not equal at the end of the day. Somebody at different places, we are superior, at different places, they are superior. So for me, what is important is women should have the confidence. Like if you are going for shopping and buying a dress, if you don't need a validation, if you are investing the same 10,000 rupees in an
Exactly.
investment,
Your
why do you need a
self-confidence and
validation?
self-esteem needs to be
Exactly, right?
worked on
You are
first.
okay to buy a branded dress which is 30K without even blinking an eye. Or you go and buy a jewelry which is 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs without even thinking. But the same amount, you go and say, put it in this particular asset class, they think twice. So
Oh,
I
they think
always,
20 times.
yeah, that always beats me, and I couldn't answer that question. I always say, you're okay to try a new dish which is 2,000 rupees on Swiggy and throw it away the moment it hits your taste buds if you don't like it. But I say go and put this 2,000 rupees in a mutual fund, a small amount of 2,000 to 5,000. They say they are not interested in putting because they
They
feel
just
that
don't
their money,
know. They
somebody,
just don't know.
yeah, money is stealing away the money, right? So the perception. So the biggest fight is the perception. So I think
I
the
think a lot
more
of this also stems from the Indian uh,
upbringing,
no, the Indian ecosystem of investing. The 1992 stock market crash is still embossed in the minds of at least our parents. And,
right?
the first person that we technically turn to for advice on anything are our parents. And if you ask them, is it okay? Like, I'm thinking about investing in
Exactly,
the
that's the
market,
best.
they're going to tell, no, 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 you'll lose all your money. No, 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 it's full of, robbers and it's full of thieves and they're going to take your money away and whatever, whatever. Like, there can be a market crash. I mean, the number of people that just walk up to me every single day and are like, is the market going to crash? I am like, nobody can predict a market crash. It's an
Yeah, you will
anomaly.
not borrow anything.
It's an anomaly. So don't worry about something that cannot be predicted. Just do your
And
thing and
market
have your risk
also,
management.
market also goes up. You have to be a long-term investor. You need to believe in yourself. You need to believe in your 5-year plan, whatever you just said.
Yeah, you need to figure out what works for you. You can
Exactly.
thrive as a short-term trader, as a long-term investor, as a mutual fund investor, as an option seller, whatever it is. You need to figure it out, and you won't be able to figure it out unless you give yourself permission to make mistakes.
Yes, unless you give your permission to try and give it all.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, one step at a time, but just one foot ahead of the other, right? One foot
Yeah.
forward. That has to be the attitude. Um, Even when it comes to doing things, I think for women, standing apart is a little bit difficult. Like when I pursued my CMT and my CFA, I did it all alone and all by myself. I think that's one advantage that I had, that I was very comfortable standing alone and doing things by myself. I didn't enroll for any tuitions, or I wasn't attending any classes with other people. So I was all by myself with my notebook, just journaling away my 5 years and, all of those things. And that kind of gave me the ability to make independent decisions, and it made me capable of independent thinking. I think that was a major advantage. It wasn't easy back then when, I was doing all of this alone. I was very lonely a lot of times. That was not pleasant. But in hindsight, honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. Because a lot of times, other people's influence can be a big diluter on your dreams.
Agreed, completely agree. And doing it all alone and doing it with a lot of determination and clarity, it made you reach where you are, and
I mean,
very happy for you.
thank you. Thank you
Great.
so much.
Yeah. So now, shifting the topic to for the momentum and swing trading, which you do, you want to expand on that a little bit on how you want to do and what is according to a trader's mindset and in investing, and what should a trader do in the whole, because what we have seen is there are, everybody starts as a trader, they lose their money and they vouch that they will not come back, and after some time they become investor in a mutual fund, or that's how we have seen generic path of the people. According to your experience, what do you think?
You're right. So everybody makes the rookie mistake of coming to the market and starting up with options trading and intraday trading. And actually, the government is at fault for that, because they've allowed brokers and they've allowed other institutions to really glorify intraday trading and options trading. Brokers are allowed to advertise that they are offering cheaper rates on there, which makes it very attractive. People tend to think that, okay, I can do options trading with maybe 5-10,000 rupees, but you don't understand that it's super risky. So before you get started into any kind of trading, may it be intraday, may it be options, may it be swing trading, may it be short term, medium term, long term investing, mutual funds, first try to understand the risk landscape. What are the risks involved? Start with a small amount and gauge for yourself whether you're able to manage these risks or not. I also started, so when I started trading, there was a time when I got pulled into options trading because, of course, it looks very, very lucrative. I got pulled into futures trading. I was doing intraday trading, and there were days when I made a lot of money. But that is the thing with them. There'll be a lot of days when you make money, but the day when you start losing money, that loss, that streak of losses is going to be so big. So I remember there was a day when I made 20,000 rupees in one trade in just 10 minutes. I was super elated. I was very happy. But that boosted my confidence, and I went on trading. And then few days later, in one single trade, I lost 60,000 rupees. So
Wow.
back then, this was equal to 3 months of salary for me.
Mm.
That was a wake up call. I mean, I was so terribly depressed. I was so upset about what I had done. And that kind of shook me out of my, you know, whatever it was that was making me kind of operate on autopilot. I was like, no, no, no. Even though I'm using charts, I need to do better. And I realized that I didn't have the risk appetite for doing something as risky as options or futures trading. So then I focused my attention entirely on the cash segment. And because I'm also a chart analyst, I was able to analyze, and I was able to see there's a lot of opportunity. There are a lot of swings that happen. So to explain a little bit what swing trading is, we understand that prices in the stock market never move up in a single line. They'll always go up in waves, in swings, right? So if we do the right analysis on the right time frame with the right holding period, we can identify opportunities where we enter and exit stocks in an optimal way to earn more money than the average market is giving. Because an alternative to swing trading is that you invest all your money in an index fund and then you sit back, right? So if the index fund can give you whatever returns it can give you, as an active trader, it becomes a moral responsibility to earn more than what the market can give, right?
Outperform the index.
Yeah. So if you do active trading, that has to be your goal. And see, again, here the importance of planning comes in. Now, if you know where you want to go, right, you know what you have to do today, or at least you'll be conscious about what you do today because you have an end point, you have a goal to get to. Same thing happens in investing also. So for swing trading specifically, it's very skill intensive. I mean, my chart trading skills, even though I've been doing it since the past 12 years, I think the rate at which I've been growing since I started doing this full time around 3 years back, it's been incredible. The amount of clarity that's come into my analysis, the depth of research that I do, my system of trading, my workflow, everything keeps getting better every single day, right? I think I'm a far miles away from perfection. Not perfection, again, is not something that I'm even pursuing, but I'm miles away from reaching a stage where I feel I'm done, because there's always just so much trial and error and so many mistakes to make and so much to learn from each and every of those mistakes, right? So this swing trading that I now do on a professional level, I actually started doing this, after my big mistakes, after losing so much money. 60,000 is not that big an amount, but when you're young and you're like, it's your
When
monthly
you're at
salary.
that stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was like it was a pretty big setback for me. And it's good that I got a big setback early on in my trading experience, because had I gotten it later, the possibility would have been that the consequence of my mistake would have been much bigger. The magnitude of my mistake would have been a lot larger, which probably would have also hurt a lot more, right? So, I started swing trading and I was working I joined a job as an investment analyst. So my investment analysis that I was doing for my clients was going really, really well. But the trading that I was doing was not doing so well. I was like, what is this? Like, it's the same person, same methodology of analysis. Why are the results so different? And then I realized that execution of trades is just as much a skill as analysis is. So when you want to do trading, may it be any kind of trading, analysis and execution, you have to look at them as two different jobs. And if you look at all the brokerage firms and all the trading proprietary firms, over there also there is one person who's an analyst, there's one person who's a trader. They don't let the same person do both things because both jobs are like so demanding, right? So for retail traders or women out there who are trying to get into trading, understanding the challenges and the demands of what you're trying to venture into is very important. Now, like when it comes to options trading, I tell everybody that please don't go into options trading because the landscape is very, like, it's tilted against you.
Dynamic. Yeah.
You cannot succeed in options trading, because first of all, whom are you competing against over there? Large institutional traders, hedge funds who have way more expensive systems, advanced systems, big teams, lot of research at their disposal, right? Plus, there is a limitation on how many orders can be opened in any specific stock. So if you happen to find a good opportunity, you are not going to get a good fill, which means either you'll not be able to enter, or if you were able to enter by God's grace, you will not be able to exit at the right time. So, the sweet spot where you end up making a profit is not going to be accessible to you in options trading. So that's the reason, don't go for that. Now, coming back to swing trading, I was in my Mumbai when I was in Mumbai back in 2018, I this realization hit upon me that okay, execution is a different ball game from analysis, and if I want to be good at trading, I need to improve on my execution. So I started doing something called past trade analysis. It's something that I was doing, but I wasn't doing it as systematically. So now I started doing it very systematically, in the sense that every trade that I had taken all my life, apart from the options trade, I started analyzing them, and I started identifying what I had done good, what I had done bad, and I started scoring it on a scale of 1 to 5. That was so life changing, Archana, because, I suddenly had this gold mine of my own mistakes that I could just dig into and find out patterns of what was working for me and what was not working for me and improve from that.
It was never not a random thing. You had actually a data which you started working on that and believing it's a data driven decisions you
It is
want
a
to make.
data driven decision. And this is why I also say that trading is a science to begin with, but it's an art at its core. Because when you start, you have to learn the rules, you have to learn the risks, you have to assess, you have to do some experiments, find your comfort spot. But once you find that comfort spot, it becomes an art. Now you just keep doing what you're doing, and you keep introspecting by, doing your past trade analysis, and you keep improving from your mistakes. So every mistake that you make becomes a stepping stone. It only becomes a stepping stone if you work on it and if you really mold it into a stepping stone. Otherwise, it's just a waste of money.
Yeah. So since you spoke about swing trading, I just want to ask if our viewers, someone wants to start on swing trading, where should they start, and what are the steps for them to actually become a decent swing trader? Where this, because options, right? You said this, options are really difficult to make money. Even one time you make, the next time losses, it will hit you so hard, right? So if someone wants to become a swing trader, what is the right starting point, and what is the guidance you want to give them?
See, from an analysis, so like I said, swing trading requires expertise in two different skill sets. One is analysis and one is execution. So, with respect to analysis, it's a little bit more tricky. It can take up to 5 years to just learn the basics of, say, technical analysis and reach a stage where through practice you're able to make independent decisions. So that's a much longer route, but it's a time of technology, so you can always work with other mentors, with other research analysts who are registered with SEBI, have credentials, who can assist you, who can shorten your learning curve significantly, make it more accessible to you. So that is one way that you associate yourself with somebody if you're starting off. But even before that, to reach a point where you can at least have a leveled conversation, use the right jargons, the terminologies, it's best to work on acquiring some knowledge. So there are lots of paid courses, certificates that are out there, which anybody can pursue. However, the best resource that I find very accessible to everybody is Zerodha Varsity. So everybody knows Zerodha, it's India's largest broker. They have started this online school, which is basically a website called Varsity, where they have broken down all the knowledge about stock market in module format. So they have chapters which you can read, or there are videos that you can watch. So if I was starting into swing trading or stock market investing or exposure for the first time, this is what I would do. I would just go and hog all the material on Zerodha Varsity on this day, right? It's very high quality. So that'd be the first thing. And then the second thing, I would seek mentors. I would seek people who can actually give me a sense of direction with respect to what I want to do, right? Even even if you've decided that swing trading works for you, and swing trading actually works for majority of the people out there, if you have a little bit of time, if you aspire to start a side business, then you can definitely do swing trading, because swing trading it operates like a side business. You bring in some capital, you can start from as low as 5 lakh 7 lakh rupees, set some time out every week. If you're willing to devote even 4 to 7 hours every week, you can do a great job in swing trading, but with the help of a guide, right? And keep learning as you go forward.
Yeah, no, great. So to summarize, understand the materials, do the varsity, look at all the mentors, look at where it is, seek professional help, and start trying it out with less capital and do that. And now I see you are an expert in momentum trading also. So, what exactly is momentum trading, and what is the difference between swing trading and momentum trading, if you can explain? And where do you think somebody who is just starting their trading journey should get into? Is it momentum, intraday, or the swing, or should they even do it, or they just invest? What is that you want to suggest for a novice, a new person, a newbie?
Yeah. So for someone who's very new, starting straight into momentum or swing trading is not a very good idea because they are very, very skill intensive. You need to develop a lot in terms of your knowledge base and your psychology. Because if you're doing momentum trading and swing trading, you have to be comfortable with booking losses. The how that actually works is you book lots of small losses. You keep your losses very small so that you can capture bigger profits. But if you're somebody who's like,
Minimal loss and maximum profit is what.
yeah. But a lot of people end up being risk avoidant in the pursuit of being risk averse. So being risk averse means you don't want to take risk. Being risk avoidant is, you're avoiding acknowledging the risk. So you participate in a wrong stock, you buy small caps or micro cap because you think they'll go up faster, but now the stock has really come down 25-30%. Instead of accepting your mistake and getting rid of the stock, if you're of the mentality that no, stock might go up someday, you just end up losing your capital and wasting a lot of your time and mental energy, right? So how swing trading, momentum trading works is you be okay with booking small losses so that you can capture the bigger profits. And what happens is usually if you book even 7-8 small losses, that one big profit when it comes is going to cover up all of these small losses and leave something on the table towards your portfolio, right? So that's the mindset. A lot of people suffer in swing trading because they are very avoidant in terms of booking
They don't
losses.
see the bigger picture, probably.
They don't
They
see the
don't.
bigger picture. Yeah, they're too obsessed with profit and loss. You can't focus on the consequence. That's why building your mental facilities, your psychological mindset, like building up your mindset becomes very, very important there. You have to be okay with taking a little bit of risk, but if the available reward is worth it, and you have to be okay with booking small losses. So all of those things take a lot of time. So for somebody who's very new, investing or getting into swing trading is not ideal. What they should instead do is start with Nifty ETF. So there is a Nippon India's Nifty ETF, Nifty 50 ETF called Nifty Bees. Start buying Nifty Bees. So this gives you the advantage of mutual fund and stocks at the same time, right? It's it's a fund managed on the basis of an existing index, and you can buy and sell it at any point of time on the basis of just like you would in a stock. Now, why I would not recommend doing the same thing with a Nifty future is because of the leverage. When you bring leverage into the picture, where if you have 1 lakh rupees capital and you're like, okay, buying one lot of Nifty takes 1 lakh only, so I'm going to go buy the lot, you have to understand that the underlying of that lot is 10 lakh rupees. So which means you're taking 10x leverage. So if I
And if
were
it
to,
goes south,
it's a completely different ball game. It affects your psychology, it affects your risk calculation, affects the analysis, the execution has to be different. Don't go into something that you don't understand. Just start with Nifty ETF. There's also IT ETF, there's pharma Bs, there's ITBs. Start buying those in small quantities. And as you beef up your knowledge about the market, right? Reach out to people on LinkedIn, search out people on YouTube, join their communities. Today, there are platforms like GapUp through which you can come across SEBI registered research analysts.
Pickright is one of the platforms.
Pickright is one of the platforms.
SEBI research, we have SEBI research analyst and RAs on Pickright.
Yeah.
Where we have called Investpacks, where for the long-term investor and also the complete technical analysis and
that is so cool.
So we have it on Pickright.
Yeah, that is so cool. And so basically for today, if somebody wants to start, all they really need to do is go to Google and just search for SEBI registered research analyst. Find the research analyst who's providing services in areas where you're interested. If you want to work in long-term investing, if you want to do swing trading, if you want to do intraday trading, options trading, whatever it is, get hold of an expert who's willing to give you their time and talk to you. That 1 hour conversation, trust me, not even 1 hour, just 30 minutes conversation with the right person about the right topic can set you up for many, many years to come.
Great, fantastic. Yeah, so I'll just wrap it up with one final question. And now we spoke about swing trading, momentum trading, and intraday, right? In coming back, focus onto the women. So is there something where is there a formula or something on how they should be doing the financial planning at what age they want to do? What is that one advice if you want to give for different stages or even we can generalize women on the how do they have to do their financial planning if you want to, because
Absolutely,
I
Archana.
strongly feel that not everybody should be a trader or an investor. Trading is again a very intense skill, science and art, right? Somebody who is doing a full-time job or managing home, how do they start with this financial planning? What is the first step towards that?
I think the very first step there would be budgeting. So, what I mean by budgeting is you have a certain money coming in and you have certain money going out. So you need to know exactly what is coming in and exactly where it is going out. A lot of times we have perceptions of what is happening, which can be a little bit disconnected from reality in terms of what you are earning and in terms of what you're spending. Uh,
Okay.
so, for instance, taxes. A lot of people don't take tax into consideration. So, if you don't take the amount of tax that you end up paying in form of direct or indirect tax and indirect taxes, you will see your residual income after all the taxes is actually a lot lesser. So,
Hmm.
the thrifty life that you're living, you honestly you cannot afford it. You're actually paying with a little bit of your future by being such a spendthrift today. So the first thing that you need to actually start with is budgeting, and this can be a difficult first step, but a very important first step. It can take you 3 to 4 months of conscious noting down your expenses, working on your credit card statements, checking your UPI statements, making sure that you have categorized all your expenses over the past few months, and keep doing it for the next few months until you find a rhythm, until you find you find a sense of familiarity and a sense of plan there, and then you work on tweaking. Okay, this is too much, maybe I'm spending a little bit too much on entertainment. Every time I go to the movies, maybe I don't have to take popcorn because it's so expensive. Maybe if I'm going to work, maybe I can carpool, maybe I don't have to take Uber 2 times a day. So once you have visibility of how your expenses are going out, you'll be able to maybe curb that a little bit and start saving. Once you have your budget clear, you need to identify how much you can honestly save out of your income. For some people, this can be 20%, 30%. I personally, since I started earning, I've been investing 50% of whatever I earned straight back into my trading account. Because for me, trading has always been a priority. So that's what I did. But if you're saving just 5, 10%, then that's not going to be enough. You need to save more. So at least 25% of whatever the income is, it should be saved and it should be invested back for future growth, because that's how compounding works. The more you compromise today, the harder you make it on yourself today. Just take that money, put it away, invest it so that it grows into the future. The more comfortable your future is going to be. And if you ask anybody, would you rather suffer for 3 years and have the next 50 years very comfortable, or would you rather have amazing 3 years and suffer for the next 50 years? I think we all know the answer.
Exactly. No, it's a golden rule. I think what you summarized is very well. 25% is what the minimum somebody has to start saving, and then budgeting. Do you have any tools, any reference to? Are there any tools out there? Do you want to suggest, or people create their own budgeting sheets and do it? How do you?
Honestly, you don't need any complicated tool. Just using a simple Excel is good enough. It's just really difficult when you start off because you don't have any categories for your expenses. You don't have any knowledge of how to do it. There used to be an app that I would use. I don't remember the name, but it had some built-in categories. So all of my expenses that I was spending, whatever I was spending on credit cards or UPI or cash, I used to always enter into the app. So it
And
also
now
became
once
fun.
UPI comes. UPI has come, we don't even know how much we are spending.
Yeah,
Earlier,
exactly.
earlier at least cash used to go and credit card, the bill used to come. Now UPI, you don't even know how much is going out
Yeah.
of, because it's all phone,
You
right?
know,
It-
tracking is all, seriously, tracking is at the heart of any kind of improvement. You want to lose
exactly.
weight, you start tracking the calories you intake. You want to grow your money, you start tracking every penny, every single rupee that
Very
you spend.
beautifully said. Very aptly said. Tracking is the core of everything. Unless you start accountability, right? Once you start tracking, you're
Exactly.
accountable, right? It indirectly gets into the accountability. Fantastic. So amazing. Yeah. Any questions for us or anything you want to?
I think for everybody out there, I'll just leave with one advice, that don't give up and keep pursuing wherever your interest takes you. Don't let others' opinion of you stop you. If you like it, if you enjoy it, keep at it.
Great. Thank you so much, Kavita, for coming on to Pickright. And whoever is watching this, please subscribe. Thank you so much for being with us. Like I said earlier, Pickright is a one-stop financial platform with SEBI registered advisors and analysts who can help you in investment, trading, and financial planning. And this podcast is an awareness which we are trying to create, which is called You, Me, and Finance at Pickright. Thank you, Kavita, and awesome it's talking. It was really great talking to you and knowing more about your journey and how did you achieve this. And definitely we'll keep in touch.
Thank you so much, Archana, for having me here. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.